back to another episode of the Dialectic Space podcast. It's with me, Ibrahim Asanko. I'm the host of this podcast, and I have the honor today to host my very good sister, Binta Dibba, who is a prominent TikToker, content creator, Gambian as well. And she has over time grown an admirable following online, particularly on TikTok, with her whooping nearly 200,000 people that follow her daily on the lives that she does, on the interviews that she hosts, but also on the stories that she tells. And today I have the honor to have her on the show to talk to her in a way that perhaps a lot of people wouldn't do, because I think at the end of the day, it is important for us to have conversations and dialogues. And as I often would say, people sitting at either side without having the opportunity to sit down and have a conversation wouldn't yield much for us. I think everybody have a story, everybody have a voice, and we must all give each other the benefit of the doubt to hear each other out. And so it is out of that I've asked Binta for me and her to come on the show and have a conversation. If you know either of us, you also know on TikTok, we're always having conversations, Gambian politics, on social life, on really anything at all. And if you know Binta, you know she's going to talk about everything and anything at all. So today we're really going to get to know who Binta is, what her motivations are, what sort of environment she was raised in, and why she cares so deeply about the things that she talks about publicly on the social media. So before getting there, I would like to apologize briefly to our audience because we started lately. That's because I closed lately from work and it took me a while to get home. But we're here now, and I'm sure that Binta and I would have a really wonderful conversation. I hope that it ends well. I hope it starts well and it ends well as well. And we've had a pre-conversation about this and said, look, we the goal is to make sure that we come here and have a dialogue where you can learn a thing or two, I can learn a thing or two, and then our audience who are here to hear your story, they can also learn a thing or two. So on that note, I would like to welcome you on the show, say hello to folks over here, and then we can begin.
Hi guys, how is everybody? Allo ñaadi na ngeen def naka seen dugula mu ngi dala.
That's all you gotta say. Have a serious any more in your content, seriously,
Da
seriously.
that's contondro, that's na gamen contondro di.
Okay, this is not TikTok live. This is serious interview. Any more in your content, seriously.
Gamen alba ñaadi alba finding sumolle baby J ba Yo, anyways, so what's up? What do you want to talk about?
Well, already we've had a whole planning meeting for what we're going to talk about. So we are going to begin with getting to know Binta. Because a lot of people see on social media, which you do a lot of work in. I cannot imagine the amount of hours you spend online every day, particularly on TikTok. Because every time I'm on TikTok, you are doing a live and you are having some of the wildest conversations ever. Conversations that arguably only the Malek Okeno. So talk to us about Binta. Who is Binta Diba? Where are you from? Why has social media and content creation become a thing for you? It seems like you've found your niche, you've found your identity. I'm not gonna say identity, that is wrong, but you found something that you really like and you're sticking to it and you continue to do it. But where did it all started for you? And who are you as well?
Well, like you said, my name is Binta Diba. I grew up in Gambia and in the United States, also Seattle, Washington. I was born in Serekunda, Ibo Town area. Went to Farafanya when I was like 3, I believe. So I grew up in Farafanya from 3 till 8, and so did my nursery school in Farafanya. Then I went to pipeline to stay with my uncle. Um, yeah, so that's when I went to old school. That was from grade 1 till grade 6. So grade 6 area, that's when they started the processing to take me out of Gambia to come live with my dad because my dad always been in America for a very long time.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, so after grade 6, early grade 7, like pretty much early, I left, came to Seattle, I mean Linwood, Washington. It was just me and my dad. Went to middle school, high school, uni, and dropped out. Then went into modeling. So in regards to media, I guess ever
No,
since I was in Ghana.
even
Go ahead.
modeling too. I think that was something that a lot of people don't know about you. That you are a top
Yeah, that's what
model.
I was gonna get into.
Okay, okay.
Because
Sorry for cutting you short. Go on, go
yeah,
on.
you're good.
Yeah.
But yeah, since I was in Gambia, everyone always tell me I should be a model, right? So even my dad too. I think my dad is one of the maybe influences. So when I came to America too, I remember my dad used to kind of tell me. Then we went to summer jam. Like I think this was 2006. So somebody tried to scout me at summer jam to be a model. So that's when I started, like, I think I was 14 during that time, and I was nervous. I was scared. I was scared to start modeling at that age. I didn't have a lot of confidence. Very skinny legs. I used to hate my legs. Yeah,
I can imagine.
I hated my legs in middle school, so I didn't want to model. But anyways, I think, yeah, when I was ready to maybe like drop out of college and wanted to find something to do, that's when I'm like, oh, let me do modeling. So then I went and looked for an agency. When I actually got denied in all the top three agencies, but then I had to lose weight, so I went and right away lost like 20 pounds in a month. Went back, got signed, became a model. Um, so pretty much, yeah. So I was doing modeling. I was actually doing good in a way. I was working with Nike a lot, Vancouver Fashion Week. So
Wow.
I had my main break when I got into America's Next Top Model. So I pretty much got myself in there because I knew it was gonna give me exposure if I get in there. Because I was a little bit short for a model. A lot of big agency wanted to sign me, but they were like, "Oh, we wish she's 5'10" and a half." So I was only 5'9", like barely 5'9". Um, so anyway, so I got into ANTM, and that gave me a lot of exposure because we were playing in MTV, VH1, and 40 something other countries. So that gave me a lot of exposure. Um, but then it gave me a lot of negative, a little bit of negative energy too because of I was the so that was I think that was the first time I saw my personality on national TV,
Hmm.
right? And then I was the little bit of the villain a little bit, and the editing was bad. But it was still fun. It was still a fun process. It was my first time in New York, being in a multi-million dollar house, like work, like it was just a beautiful experience at the end of the day. Um, so after that, um, some life stuff were happening. When I
Personal
had the
life stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
personal life stuff, I had like when I had the popularity. Um, I was getting ready to go to New York. Because I always wanted to leave Seattle too. Like growing up in Washington, at some point for us, it became really boring for me. So I wanted to leave really bad. So I wanted to be in New York area, like. So because of personal stuff that were going on, I decided that I wanted to learn Islam. Like I felt like I didn't really like I knew I was Muslim, but I felt like I really didn't. Ever since I left Gambia, I didn't study, right? So I decided to do research with like the religion itself, Islam. So that made me I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start hijabing. Before that, I was the one that was like, I would never ever hijab. I would never do, like, I was that type of person. So I'm like, I'm gonna start hijabing. So I started hijabing early 2016. Um, Before that, I already had a big name for myself in terms of Binta Dibba the model, right? So I
You
was
were already
already,
very popular.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I already had an like I already built the brand. Um, so then I'm like I'm not like if shooting anymore. Like I start working with Nike, all of them. It's like I'm not. They have to hire me as a hijab model, if
Wow.
they want to work with me.
That's
Um,
profound. That's a big deal.
yes,
So, because of your Islamic faith, you made the conscious decision to say, if any agency is going to work with me, you'll have to hire me as an with everything that comes with me as a Muslim girl.
yes,
Wow.
um, yes. So I pretty much stopped everything. I can but fun feel kind of, with the.
Right.
Anyways, but yeah, so after that, I moved to New York. So I decided to just get a regular job. I mean, not in I decided to move to Jersey because New York was too, like, growing up in Washington and New York is different in terms of like comfortability, right? So I'm like, you know what? Let me go to South Jersey. I want to make sure I find a good apartment or whatever. So I went to move to South Jersey. That's where I met my dingo farmer, So working pretty much. So then after had my daughter, um, then that's when I kind of stopped modeling,
Okay.
right? So during that time, I was on Clubhouse a lot. After I had my daughter, I learned about Clubhouse, right? Um, so I was on Clubhouse a lot, and there was this club called African Journal, right? So they were very popular there. So right away, I started interacting with them. Then I became a moderator for them for their platform, right? So we were running rooms over there. So it was always about Pan African conversations, like it's just us Black people all over the world, but mostly in America, living in America. Um, so there for like 2 3 years, I was just living my regular life, being on Clubhouse, running rooms over there. I had a club called the Smiling Coast, um, and so it's just us bunch of different kind of Black people in there, always having fun and having these conversations. Until one day, my friends, the ones that my Black American friends, I always run rooms with, I always have these Pan African conversations with. So they had a room mad saying that Black Americans should stop going to Gambia because 5 Black Americans got unalive in Gambia in within a 9 months period. So they were very mad, and it became a whole Africans don't like Black Americans kind of thing.
Right.
So obviously as a Gambian I was very sad, and these were my friends. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do like some research in these 5 individuals that allegedly passed away in Gambia, and I'm just gonna see what's going on there, and I'm gonna respond to them. So that's when I went into those 5 cases, did some research, and actually found out that online, when it comes to Gambia and Black Americans, there's this trend that's going around whereby Black Americans feel like they're being mistreated in Gambia, right? So when I did research, I noticed that okay, out of those 5 cases, 2 of them were definitely elders, so it could be a natural cause. The other 3, it's possible that something could happen from what I've observed, right? So I had to, then I did a room explaining to them that, listen, my country right now is a mess in terms of security. We're not used to bodies coming out of my country every week. But currently, with the current president, and because of lack of security, this is something that's happening in my country, and it's not just Black Americans that are suffering from this. Governments, everyday governments, are also suffering from this. Um, so after I did that room, I that's when I came on TikTok. So during that time, I had TikTok for a long time, but I never used it. I didn't even know TikTok had TikTok Live. I didn't know. If I knew TikTok had TikTok Live, I would have been on TikTok a long time ago. But I did not know at all. Like even if I go there, I wouldn't spend like more than 1 minute on there. So anyway, so I went on TikTok and I criticized Adam Butter. Like I made a video like Adam Butter, like nasate to tinyaka ni konaba, like you see, you just hear, So I made a video going after him for the first time, and then it went viral, right? Um, it went viral. So then I kind of discovered TikTok Live with Joby's also with the playing games and stuff like that. Um, so when I started going on live, when I made that video about Burrow, governments every time they call my live, now they want to talk about politics because I criticized Burrow that one time. Um,
And prior to this, just not to this is an amazing story. Prior to this, you had no interest whatsoever in Gambian politics until you did this research, discover Gambia's security situation, why these African Americans were allegedly killed in the Gambia. You had no interest whatsoever until you made that single video that went viral online. Everybody would
I
hit on that.
observed before that. I observed government politics, but I was never vocal about it online.
Okay.
Yeah. So until when after this incident happened, and I went and that's when I came and spoke against Burrow. Um,
Did
then
it occur to you at that point, just like, did you realize what you were doing in the sense of, okay, cool, like I'm talking about Gambian issue now people are beginning to relate to what I'm saying, or either agree or disagree. Did it occur to
No,
you at
I
the
knew.
time?
I said to myself, I'm like, listen, let me, because my country's name is becoming so, it's like it's a mess right now. Like things are so bad, like the security is so bad that it's affecting us internationally. So maybe let me try to help in speaking against the government, and hopefully, like, it can help. Like, I'm no one, but hopefully it can, maybe it can help if I also contribute a little bit, right? um so when I made that video, yes, that's, I was like, let me try to contribute a little bit myself. So I made that one video. There was other things that I observed on TikTok that I spoke on too. Those went a little bit viral, but then they always want to talk about politics, so that's when I started, like, talking
Getting
about
into politics.
politics with
Hmm.
them. And then started observing other governments, whether it's like, okay, we need to take Barrow out. So I knew last election, I never interfered in government politics. I thought UDP was gonna win last election, but when SFL came out and said that he was interested, I was excited because I was a fan from TRC. So I was excited with him. So I started observing UDP and Sobeya. Um, I knew UDP have numbers right away to definitely be able to take Barrow out, but I was also observing Sobeya because I always felt like, okay, it has to be teamwork for Barrow to go out. So I started just hanging with Gambians, which was very helpful in a way too, because I was learning a lot about Gambian history, West African history, um, hanging around with Gambians compared to me hanging around with my Pan African friends, right? So I started learning more about Gambia, about West African history itself, Gambian politics. So then I decided, there was another platform I used to go to. We would hang out and stuff, and everybody would come there, complain about Borough, what's going on. So the next day, the things we talked about at that uh, platform, I will
Hmm.
come and make like 3 videos about Borough and his government. So I'm like, okay, because I believe that they're not professional at all the way they do their job. So I'm also, my job now is to mess up your brand name, which is MPP. So now I'm gonna come for it. Like anyone who can help you succeed, I'm gonna
Yeah.
talk about them. Like
Now,
I'm gonna see.
before you take us to the politics, let me ask you this real quick, Binta. You know, in at that point, because there's a lot for us to go through, and I want to make sure I'm keeping up with the sequence of events. At that point, when you're doing this, when you started, I'm sure at family level or parental level, your family is they're beginning to notice, because for all of us, when we started, most times I remember, even when I was in the Gambia working, even before the TRRC days, when Jemma was there are things that I write on my Facebook. My mom would call me and ask me to stop or to take it down. I was young, and I would always fight with her to say that, look, I should be able to talk about these things, but I didn't understand the extent or the significance of what she was mentioning to me at the time. Because when you're young, you're passionate. You just want to put your voice. Oh, this is wrong. We need to change this. So in those days, but what I do want to ask you is, at that point, did it occur to you, or did your family start telling you, Binta, we don't want you to be on Gambian social media like that? But how did you also did you have any disparity in terms of understanding the difference culturally, given that you left Gambia at 80 years old, you come to the United States that has a very different cultural interaction,
I left 13.
13 rather, that have a different cultural orientation than the Gambia. Like here, my experience is they're more open, they're more conversant, they are going to speak their mind. I mean, you see kids talk to their parents a certain way. It's just different. I mean, obviously, we're Gambians. We try to make sure we bring our culture here to teach our kids the manners and values that we've been taught when we've been raised. But here it's hard. So the mindset is different. What I do want to ask you is that, did you realize the cultural difference in terms of you doing this and talking about the government, and maybe even your parents telling you, Binta Kana Nyinke, do not do this, do not talk about government politics. But how do you balance those two in terms of the difference between Gambian culture and here being in America, where you somewhat can say whatever you want because it's guaranteed in the First Amendment, which is not the case in the Gambia. But how did you balance that?
Well, it started with I'm being in media since back in the day when I was modeling. Obviously, I'm used to like some family members feeling some type of way about my what I'm doing online. Um, so I guess with me speaking on government politics, it started with Aramboro Nala like government official or like pretty much when I started talking about them each maybe
Mhm.
the Buddha Fara word or I use and stuff. So yes, they definitely complain.
Listen, my
I
wife
look
is
it.
watching. I'm not going to interpret that. You're not supposed to know that, but yes, proceed.
Um, so I pretty much just ignore at first a little bit because again, I thought Adam Barrow's government. I thought they were very unprofessional. I thought the behavior they were doing. If you translate the word I said, if you translate the meaning of it, is what they were doing, in my opinion, right?
But yeah,
So
Gambia, you cannot say that to from where we come from. You realize that, and I'm sure
yeah,
your
but
family must have mentioned it.
yes, but you can't also work. You can't also go and work for the government and still and do unprofessional behaviors and feel like mate. Like you can't do that and expect people to be nice to you. In my opinion, that's
True.
how I look at it. So I'm like, okay, I get what they're saying in terms of be like very mashallah, be halal, be good, Binta behave
Respectful.
well,
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I get that. But at the same time, like, no, 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 these people deserve this right now. I think this is what they deserve. Because y'all are not doing it. That's why, they feel gangster to be behaving the way they're behaving. I think they need some of this. Um, and obviously I'm gonna take the hit for it. And I took the hit for it, but I felt like they deserved it. That the word I was using, I felt like they were behaving just like that if you translate it, and I can say it. Um, and I wasn't breaking any law technically, in the laws of the Gambia. Like I wasn't breaking any
They
law.
said no. They actually, I think they have.
They
I
added a
could be
law
wrong.
later on
Yes,
with the parent. The
I did.
parent one, they
Yeah.
added that law later because. But I don't even, I don't do the parent unnecessary parent insult with politicians. No, but do I say that ikaw buda para manya ka kang? If you're doing Buddha Paramanya, then maybe we might have to say you're doing Buddha Paramanya. I don't know. I'm gonna work on it. Anyways, so yeah,
Yeah, you can work
so
on it. You can work on it.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
I'll work on it.
we
Like,
have the beautiful thing about stuff like that is when you say those things, the likelihood of them going viral is very high because nobody does that. Only Binta would arguably do that in our Gambian context, and that's why I was asking you that question to say that
I'm
when you're
not the
from
only one. There's other people that do
who would
what they
say
want to do.
who would say in the Gambia that if a Buddha for a manyala on a video and publish that online? I haven't seen it. Show me one person.
Well, maybe that's why Adam Barr and his government are behaving the way they're behaving because we're allowing them to do what they're doing, and it's wrong.
I agree.
Um,
I totally agree with you 100%. What I'm saying is the reason I'm asking that question is you can realize who we are culturally, even religiously as well. Like certain things that when you want to address, especially people older than you, there is a manner of doing it. I'm sure even when your family members say for example, they have issues or they want you to take the hit for what you say, it's not because they don't want you to say it, it's because of how you say it. They could feel man kumo ti nya fa fo nya. But you can realize where they're coming from. Gambians, we're not like we generally very respectful. We want to interact in a way that we're not using profanity, and there is a way that it's a kumo phone now without using those kind of terms. But if
and
you're
in
in
Gambia
America,
also,
yeah, if you're in
and
America, if you're in America, we can say anything to the president or anybody, and it's okay. Nobody cares, right? But in the Gambia, it's
yes,
completely different.
yes, in the Gambia also, we don't accept thieves. We don't like thieves. We don't like corrupt individuals. Okay, we are a small nation, right? But if you want to yap us, you want to step on us, you want to dori dori on us, we might just one day be like relax. So that is part of our behavior also.
True, true. So, okay, cool. we can agree on that. We can agree. We can disagree to agree. But hopefully, I think the point is noted that I think
I get what you're saying.
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
you know what I'm saying, like culturally, because yeah, boy, you call it easy boy. At the end of the day, politicians will find how them doing them with it. You know, they mess up sometimes, but they're people. And you know, at the end of the day, if you take them out of their office, you realize this is just Ibrahim Alakotoke or Bindala Kotoke or somebody's dad or somebody's uncle. And I think for the most part, if you address them certain ways sometimes too, they
When you're stealing loans, when you're taking loans on the name of the Gambian people and you're stealing from those loans, and our hospitals are horrible. Gambian parents and Gambian children are dying because of lack of healthcare, and you're enjoying that funds. I'm not gonna speak nice to you.
yeah, but you don't have to speak nice to them, but
I don't. I do speak nice to. I don't. I say like if you,
you
because
cuss
if
them
you're
out.
doing that if you're doing that, that is 100% Buddha Faramaya. That is a guaranteed Buddha Faramaya, and we will say it.
Okay, in the sun now, we're not going to agree on that. That's one thing we're not going to agree. So we're going to move on. Hopefully, we'll come back to this conversation because I think it will be relevant as we move on. Now, talk to us about how did you again? We've established how TikTok data nyama and your involvement in politics. Now, how did you come to educate yourself about Gambian politics, and how did you come to decide things Milialanko are important data in terms of Gambian politics, particularly? How did you come to make those decisions for yourself?
By talking to governments literally every day on TikTok, about what's going on in the country, speaking to politicians themselves, people that are in the mix of it, on the grounds that know what's going on. And Gambia is so small that someone like me, who did not really wasn't involved in government politics, that I can come in, make big influence to be able to have access to the big players in a way. I think our country is that small and we're still not developed that to the point that it's easy for anyone to do that. As long as you have a voice or you have the time to create that platform.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead. Sorry.
no, so pretty much it was like that for me. I guess when I first started talking, it was pretty much just us and our platforms and
Yeah.
maybe Smile Back. Then the Borough Must Go team, they had a lot of experience in terms of Jambes era, also being part of the struggle. Um, and then yeah, so then pretty much also connecting with some UDP members, some Sobea members also, PDS. Um,
Were
yeah.
there, besides the political figures and Gambians, were there any, say, serious inquiry into, say, reading Sadauda Karaba Jawara's book, Karaba, that offers a very important perspective about Gambian social and political history, or, say, Hasum Sise or Halifa Saleh? All of these individuals have written extensively about, or Esa Ture or anybody else, Milialanko, they constantly write about Gambia. Were you ever interested in like reading, or it was principally talking to Gambians?
Talking to governments, I was never really. I was more interested in maybe learning about West African history and I guess government politics too. I should get into that, but it was never my goal to stay involved in government politics after 2026. Remember, I just felt like our name internationally was becoming a mess, and I just wanted to help Borough get out. But I had no plans of involving myself in government politics or politics itself after 2026. Now I feel a little bit stuck.
Yeah.
uh, Now I feel a little bit stuck when it comes to government politics. But it wasn't a goal for me to be involved or
Yeah.
wanting a job in it or anything like that. No.
Now, the reason I'm asking that is because, Yalong, then before we got into today, that was yesterday, and there's a lot of lessons to learn from what happened yesterday for us to understand the things that play out today in our politics. And so, brilliant Gambians, academics included, and even politicians have written very much about our political situation. And so, that's why I'm curious to ask you, if you speak so much about Gambian politics, to have a much more balanced or nuanced perspective on the issue. Wouldn't you say it maybe necessary to also study or read Gambian
I
materials a
did
little bit? Yeah.
basic like background on Jaro's era. So I definitely did a little, just some readings on Jaro's era. Gambian history itself a little bit in terms of our laws. Um, I enjoy speaking to people like Nyang Jai and stuff, or been reading from him also for a long time. So yeah, but definitely, I can definitely learn from those books. To be honest, that's why I said when I started involving myself, when I started talking to Gambian people, that's when I started actually learning a lot about Gambia itself, our history, our politics, and obviously I'm still behind and still need to learn more. I will learn for the sake of learning.
Don't
Um,
say that. Don't say learning
Not
for the
because I
sake of
have no
learning.
plans of. I don't know if
No,
I'm interested in
because you have to
following.
no, you have to realize whether you accept it or you like it or not, you are a person of influence, and when you speak, people listen to you, and that should come with an responsibility to make sure things that you speak on are accurate, are reflective of the facts on the ground, bearing in mind the socio-economic and political context that we come from. We cannot just sit down and say that, oh, I'm just going to do it for the sake of doing it, because you have 200,000 followers on TikTok. That should come with some responsibility to sort of at least try to understand stuff, not just by talking to somebody. Or because the thing is, you and I, even for somebody like me who was not living Gambia for only 6 years, there are things that still I'm like, no, I don't really understand. It doesn't matter what I read in these books. I don't really understand it very well. I need to be on the ground. I need to read Gambian materials. What is recent? I need to read Gambian papers every day. I need to speak with Gambian political scientists who are in the Gambia and out of the Gambia to understand what's happening. So you can understand where I'm coming from. That responsibility should at least make us to try to endeavor to learn. You don't think so?
No, I agree. I agree for sure. Yes, I do have 200 followers, 200K or close to it, and will produce way more too. But I'm not only obviously gonna focus on Gambia itself. I think as after politics, I'm gonna come out a little bit more in the international scene. That's where I'm more interested in also. But yeah, I definitely should. Any information I can learn about my country, I'm interested. To be honest, because I do love my country, and Gambia is gonna always gonna be where there's gonna be the most opportunity for me.
Yeah, and I think that's what most people don't also realize is you live in the United States. You could choose to do other things with your time, but I think they miss the fact that you love our country so dearly that you spend so much time, you invest so much time to bring awareness and also build the image of the country. Even though sometimes it comes with a lot of controversy, but I know you love the Gambia, and I know if we all try, we can all do a lot more to build a positive image and a beautiful image of our country than just you know being branded out there as the Gambian hater or somebody who is always trying to spew division. Because I know that's not who you are. Most people don't know you, but I think for the most part, with all of the social media, I know you love the Gambia, so I can speak to
Who
that.
said I'm trying to split division?
Nobody said it. I said it.
Okay, correct that one.
Okay, cool. Let's move on. Let's move on to today then, Binta. Um, Now you do a lot of conversations on your platform, and people call them Gina Kachalu. I want to talk about that before we talk about politics today. Gina Kachalu Binta is something me and uncle. I think you are perhaps the first person ever that I've seen who has a platform and uses a large chunk of our time to talk about genes on her platform. And people will call you from all over Africa to tell you about their gene stories or their encounters with gene or their encounters with Boalu or their encounters with Owl and all this really, in my opinion, outlandish stuff that I would never expect to come mainstream are things that you are bringing to your platform. Why is this the case? How did this come about?
um, it was like one day. I went on. I opened live TikTok live. It was I actually got into it with my Black American friends that I knew from Clubhouse, but they were on TikTok. So I went on their live, and they were bothering me like. using Imam Fati and whatever that's going on in Gambia to like violate me. So I opened the live to like do a response to them. Then this guy came, Asan. So because my audience are Gambians on TikTok, so Asan Job came. He's this very popular Gambian TikToker that's very funny and educative too at the same time. So he came
I
and
know
then he's like,
Asan of
yeah,
of
Asan Job.
Bright Star Entertainment.
No,
Is a
what brand? I don't know
comedian?
about. I don't know Asan been part of any entertainment. I don't know
Okay.
Asan Job.
Okay. Well,
Um,
I know one Asan Job. He was at the university at the School of Journalism. I know
no,
him
no,
now.
no, that's
Okay.
not Asan. No, no.
Okay.
I'm show you. So Asan came. He's like Binta, hanga gambe amna ninkinanka. So let me show you his picture. Asan is very funny. He's a very popular TikToker.
Oh,
Him.
okay. Okay. Yeah, I don't know him.
Yeah. So he came, he's like, Bita, hamga gambe, I'm the ninkinanka, right? So me, like I forgot like I guess when I was a kid I've heard the word ninkinanka before, but I totally forgot about it. Like I don't know what it. So I'm like ninkinanka. He's like then he explained to me, he said it's like a dragon. I'm like a dragon. Then he's like, it's because the Ninkananka is responsible for the roads in like London Corner, Pipeline, and Sukuta. So me, at some point when I was in Cumber, I used to live in like the pipeline area, Latikunda, Jaman. So I know those areas very well. And my aunt used to live in London Corner, and I used to be there a lot, and Bundong. So those roads too. So I noticed that they do have something in common. The way the roads are, like the way they're bad and the way they design, like the whole. So they do have something in common. So when he said that, that was interesting to me. I'm like, huh, this thing is real. And then in the same conversation, he also said that how need munna nek super like a neck a gainde. Like somebody can convert into a gainde. I'm like, what? So he started like telling me this story that this actually happened in Gambia. I'm like, because I don't know if I believe it yet, but I thought it was funny and interesting. So I posted it and it went viral. It just went viral. Everybody enjoyed it. So when I came back on live, everyone want to talk about it. So the whole Ninkananka thing, like, yes, the Ninkananka is real, it's not real. Like, so it was like a big debate that happened on TikTok. So, and then they said the Ninkananka is a jinne in the jinn, right? So that's how we got into like, have you seen a jinn before? I don't know. I just randomly asked it, and then people start telling their stories, and it's actually very funny too and entertaining in my opinion. Like listening to these so-called stories. Then that went into dumber stuff too, and that's even more entertaining also. It's scary but like entertaining. So and then when I post them they go viral and Gambians enjoy it, they love it. So I'm like, you know what, I was always talking about politics. My videos were not going, they were not spreading faster than like compared to the gin stories. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do these stories. I'm not gonna be arguing with no one. We're all laughing. It's like the first time me like and everyone actually would be on the same platform. Like MPP people would actually be on my platform because of the gin stories. Before that, I never clicked with that at all. So I'm like, I'm just gonna start posting these content. They're gonna go further, and then I'm gonna have my UDP Vote UDP coalition promo in there, and no matter what, if they keep watching, it could register in their brain, right? Um, so yeah, so I started doing that. Governments enjoy the gin stories; they love it. A lot of people say that it's been helping them. So sometimes we would also do like, who is this person? Like Nyang Jai is one of our
Yeah.
favorites over
Young
there.
Badabo.
Yanko Dabo, yeah. And we're working on bringing more people also. So anyone who we really like, so we like to like bring them there, and then they tell us their history, their stories.
How about people? How about those that you don't like?
Yeah, I don't the one. Well, maybe you know what? Recently, I started thinking. I was like, I low-key would love to bring interview Jembe. I think that would be fun. So I'm starting to open up recently. Before I was, but I feel like imagine who's
What makes you
Jembe. That would
think?
be
Yeah. What makes you think
no,
Yajim will
because
be interested to talk to you?
because I'll tell him he likes attention. I think so. I'll be like, listen, you have numbers. Everyone will watch it, and it will be fun interview. So Jembe he likes business, so he might be like, you know what? All publicity is good publicity. Let me do it. You never know. Like you never know, So recently, like whoever can connect me with Yajim, I'll not connect bang. Who's Yajim? We wanna do who's Yajim. I have high school now, elementary school story for Mole. Yeah.
Low-key thinking about it, I feel like you and Yajembe would be a groundbreaking conversation because
I think it's so
yeah,
too.
you and Yajembe would break the internet.
No, I think it would be a fun conversation actually. Like I've been saying that to like you later on. Then but you got a tough question or later. But like it will be fun at first.
Okay, listen. If there is one question Ibanyin in Kalamin, I'm sure we can let Jinna question on it. If there is one question you would love to ask Yajembe, what would it be?
I have a lot of questions that I would love to
Off
ask
the
you,
bat,
Ajambe.
what could you remember? Or what would you love to ask him?
I think for me, it's not what you think. You think it's the Gina stuff. No, it's about the big so-called crimes that he allegedly did. That's gonna be the big maybe like, did you do it or you didn't do it? Like, what's up? Like, tell me your side of the story. But I think the fun side would be probably to learn about his history. Even though like I didn't become, I wasn't a fan late 2000s or early
Mhm.
2000, mid 2000, I wasn't a fan, but it would be interesting to learn about his childhood stories, his
Yeah.
parents' stories, his high school stories, all the way to him being a high ranking,
Military
what do you
officer.
call it?
Uh-huh.
Yes. So yeah, I think those would be fun. Then later on, obviously, it will be more of a serious conversation.
I've been thinking about this a lot. I think former President Jammeh should write a memoir because of all the things that you hear that are mostly attributed to him. And when I worked at the TRC, I've seen papers that he minuted on as well, and with comments. This is crazy, and that people said, Jammeh was right. There were books that he was educating him. He was way ahead of his time, and I think with all of the accusations, but also his social orientation, being raised and his schooling to Gambia High School, going to America for his military training, and when he came back to Gambia, the 1994 coup, how it would be really interesting. I think beyond the human rights violations, it would offer so much context. But that is why I also feel like Jambe, his court case would be crazy because it's almost going to be like a TRC sort of thing because we want to hear everything. So I think Binta versus Jambe would be definitely something to watch. But I hope Jambe could do a memoir or write a book or something to offer a lot of history and I think knowledge for people to learn because I think there's a lot there that we need to know for sure how he managed to rule this small country for 22 years in so much mysterious ways, arguably in a way that perhaps no one ever has. This almost a nobody just became president, and held the country. Everybody was
And
subjugated.
I think his gin stories will be fun too. Like, cause all the things we
Exactly.
hear, yeah, I think his gin
Yeah.
stories will be allegedly the gins like him in Gambia.
Yeah.
Allegedly, I don't know.
Yeah, and then
Yeah,
the HIV treatment, the akanasolu minke funko kang imamul karosi ke bulola, like what is in all of that? I want to ask him all of that too. So maybe you'll invite me
yeah,
to sit with him.
yeah, yeah. Definitely.
And then bual fanang, buwa jaburundul, all of that. Anyway, so let's talk about today, right? Today you do the genius stories, you do hours long live on your TikTok, but you don't only do that. You've taken a particular interest in Gambian politics today. Now, I know when I say this, you get upset. So I don't want to get you upset or riled up or get into a debate with you because I have enough of that from Wandifa and other folks that come on the show to have conversation with me. But you've become somewhat a phenomenon in terms of supporting and defending United Democratic Party (UDP) online. Lafayette Ninkala, how did you come to support UDP? How has this spoken to you in terms of you deciding to support them, even though you're not a member, which I think is important for us to establish. But you identify with them, you defend them online, you support them, but you also support the candidacy of SR Fala as well. So I think that's important to establish. And you also always support the idea of having a coalition, but led by either UDP or SRFAL. You've had the conversations around that before, but why UDP specifically?
Um, because I feel like they've been winning elections for a long time. Um, I feel like even though they are this big yellow party, and when you're not interested in government politics, you probably look at them like, oh, they, these unnecessary couple stuff. Um, but if you're actually serious about taking Borough out, you're gonna obviously observe UDP. So at first, I wasn't sure who I was gonna be riding with. I just wanted to ride with the team that can take Battle out, but obviously the right team also. It's very important to me that it is the right team. Um, I definitely do know that all these political parties, all of them, each and every one of them, still have a lot of room to grow. There's a lot of things that all of them lack when it comes to the party itself. Um, but UDP, obviously, I just felt like they had numbers, so I just started approaching them and trying to talk to them about the coalition situation. How about in terms of, I think you guys should. I always try to talk to them about Sobeya. Like I think you guys should try to collaborate with Sobeya. This is before the flag bearer situation. Or bring in, if you bring in Tobeya, you will have PDIS, GDC. So that was something that I always try to talk to them about. And obviously, I feel like they had the numbers. Um, their reputation to me wasn't, it was okay compared to like what we have, right? So I felt like, why not, like, and even if they become leadership, I think they deserve it. They've always tried to be leadership for a very long time. When we had Jambe, I felt like, fighting Jambe alone, being part of that, I think that can definitely give them the credibility that they need in terms of, they've worked for the country when it comes to like human rights violation, trying to fight human rights violation, and even them losing elections in a very unfair ways. You know, I thought there was nothing wrong with me supporting them, so I was supporting them. I was not interested in joining any political party because I thought for me the goal was getting rid of Barrow and stopping talking about politics. I didn't believe, I still don't believe in being part of a political party without having any goal of working for the government. If I have a goal to work for the government, then I will be interested in joining a political party. But right now, I have no interest in working for the government. So therefore, I don't see the reason, any need for me to join a political party.
You realize you don't have to be partisan to get a job in Gambia government. Gambia government can look at Binta and say, look, we need a strong spokesperson, a female version of Dr. Ismail Assise, and they can just hire you to be to be the information minister of Gambia government or be the spokesperson of Gambia government. You realize that you don't have to be a member of
Nah,
the
I know that
political.
you can.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know that. Yeah,
yeah.
but I just felt like it was unnecessary for me to just join for that reason.
So let me ask you, do you believe that 2021 elections was stolen from UDP?
I during election last year, I believe all of us, I believe like a lot of governments really thought UDP was gonna win. We thought they were stronger. They were gonna win. Um, and obviously, when we heard of otherwise, I wasn't surprised if they cheat because I know how Africa works. No one really follows the rules majority of the time. Um, so when I started talking to governments, that's when I was hearing a lot of talking to governments, whether UDP governments or independent governments that are so-called activists or whatever. When I started talking to them, that's when I started hearing a lot of the claims of how elections were being stolen. And also on my platform, I had some governments that would come on my platform tell me that there used to be poll agents and the things that they were doing. in terms of them seeing like foreigners that they know these are foreigners that just literally came yesterday and they're voting. So I've seen definitely seen some governments, that claim they were poll agents, they witnessed corruptions. On my platform too, I definitely had some government military officials that also do come on my platform and tell us like how Jammeh's time, how they were stealing votes and how they were pretty much manipulating the system and going into details how they were doing it. So yeah, I do think that they stole the elections. Um, and I think when I was even more convinced was I forgot the guy that went to Peter Gomez and he was speaking
Yeah, yeah, I
about it and
remember
went
that.
to jail right away.
Yeah,
Yes. So just hearing things like that and knowing Africa itself and how it works, I'm like, of course they stole the election.
yeah,
Even foreigners last year, when you asked them who's gonna win, they all thought UDP was gonna win. Everyone thought UDP was gonna win.
yeah. Okay, so over the years, since since you've beginning like associating and also defending UDP, how has that been like for you, and what has that taught you? Without specifically going into like Jumala UDP, Jumala, but you personally, since you started being you, because you are political, you're not partisan, but you are political. But since you started defending a lot of UDP online, how has that experience been for you? In terms of people receiving, I'm sure you get a lot of love, but do you also get a lot of hate out of it?
Before I even started saying the word UDP out of my mouth, and because I was speaking Mandinka on TikTok, because in on TikTok, what I learned was when I'm speaking Mandinka, I can get away with a lot of things when it comes to my video, right? So I was on purposely speaking Mandinka like all the time, and sort of like my videos, I don't have to get flagged and things like that. So I noticed that government started calling me UDP, and I used to be like, "Listen, just because I'm speaking Mandinka doesn't mean that you gotta say I'm from UDP." But I noticed a lot of governments was calling me UDP, and I was hearing a lot of UDPians complaining about this situation whereby anytime somebody's like is speaking about politics and they're speaking Mandinka, some people think they're UDPN, or like someone does something bad and they're Mandinka right away, they try to associate with them. So these were complaints that I was hearing a lot, and I started observing it myself, in terms of, because at first I was the first people I actually had an issue. Well, not the first people, but I did have some issue with some UDP people at some point on TikTok, whereby I'm like, bro, don't argue with Sobeya, like work together. Like that's what I was always preaching, and PDIS also. But yeah, so I noticed that people were definitely like anything I said, they would like try to blame UDP for this is how UDP people this. I'm like, I never even claimed to be UDP number one. Um, I always, if anything, the party I claim is Puga. I always said I'm Puga, which was PDIS, GDC and UDP, and APP. So, um, yeah, but so there's a lot of people that don't like UDP for sure. There are some people that don't like UDP. Not a lot. I'm gonna say some people that don't like UDP, and obviously, anyone who is a UDPN, they will look at you as an enemy or have some. They might not be fair to you in certain situations, or yeah, or other people just probably don't like me because of how I speak and how I deliver my message. Because I know that's also there too.
Do you think, because what you seem to me seems to be somewhat like a stereotype, because you engage publicly in Mandinka, and just people make the conclusion that because you speak Mandinka, you're UDP. And I must add at this point that that's not only you that experience. When I was going to high school, I think for a while in Gambia too, even a prominent minister today used to make that joke to me at the university in those days, because of my last name or because I speak Mandinka and I'm from Brikama. He'll always insinuate, the first thing he will always say is that Ibe UDP. And I always ask, because I'm a knucklehead when it comes to curiosity. I just said, why do you say that? And he's like, well, I'm not gonna tell you, but you're UDP. And I think for the most part, I can see where you're coming from when, for example, like people make that assumption because you speak Mandinka, and they conclude that you're UDP. But I think on the general point though is that you don't have to be partisan. But I think if you defend a party constantly, you spend hours and hours and hours online to defend and propagate that party and its programs, and its talking points. It also makes sense for people to naturally align you with that party, to say that you don't have to be a card holding member, but you are a member of the United Democratic Party. Do you think that is fair?
I support the party. I In terms of 2026, I am a member that is supporting them to win. Yes, currently. I don't know what I'll be doing next year. um, if they come in and they're doing things wrong, obviously I will not be supporting them. But right now, am I supporting them to help them take office? Yes, I am.
Yeah.
So if that makes me a member, then I am a member. But I don't like claiming it because number one, I don't want them to try to like control me in regards to this is what you can say. This is because they do it too. You didn't do that too. It's like I'm like that's why I never even want to join you guys' party because I don't want to say something and they try to blame you guys, and I don't want you guys to also try to police me in my
Yeah.
speech. Uh,
Okay. And to that end, in terms of blaming you for things that you say, even though you have an independent platform, a lot of people sometimes would, not a lot of people, you hate it when I say that, but one could argue that, you are part of some form of a UDP media machine. I don't believe it because I think I've known you enough to believe that you are not. You're just a free person. You have a political inclination towards UDP and you speak your mind online. But speaking of attributing things to you, few weeks ago, you made a very controversial statement that went viral on Gambian social media. And I thought before we move on, I should give an opportunity to either clarify, defend, or to double down on that statement that you make, which specifically is that you made the case that if either NPP, led by President Adabaro, wins this election, or United Political Party wins this election, they should just go and basically do arson, which in the Gambian law is illegal. I don't know if you know this, but that has serious legal implications if you make public comments like that, because it seems like you are basically conspiring to commit what is considered a felony in the Gambia. But I want to give an opportunity because I think that's important, and most people want to hear your take, whether you want to clarify that or whether you overstate that, or people are even talking about that out of complete context. But what is it that you said, and what do you mean by that statement?
okay, so what I said was because of we seen what IEC did during registrations. We seen children as young as 12 years old, 15 years old, 16 years old being registered. We seen the behavior that what's his name? What's his name? Um, Sidinjai did in regards to also allegedly going to these polling stations with underage. Um, Modu Sabali himself coming out and speaking and saying that, yeah, yeah, when Yam Sane got caught, when he was in prison, he was asking Sidinjai to take him out, and he was even laughing, telling Sidinjai ignore him, right? So we seen that, and to me, during registrations, what I witnessed was mate behavior when it comes to corruption. I believe IAC was participating in it. Sirinjai participated in it. And I think Joe Colley himself obviously have to be involved in it. Allegedly, um, it was Sirinjai that introduced him to Jambe. So, and then knowing what I know about Jambe's era also from what I've witnessed, um, and also having a family member that worked at IEC before and being in Gambia witnessing something that happened during election day, I feel like IEC they're the problem in the Gambia. Um, and I think that because we caught NPP happily participating in voters registration fraud, we caught an executive board member from UMC also participating, and I personally don't trust Talib Bensouda's mom and her money. I personally just don't trust her. This is my personal instincts, nothing, And I think that these two groups right away should be disqualified. More for MPP, a lot less for UMC. But because I don't trust, I believe that the same behavior that MPP participate in, I believe they also participate in those behaviors. And we caught an executive board member participated in voters fraud. Um, and I guess again, my own little personal instincts with Talib's mom. So anyway, so made the statement that listen, ni IC nyamata ni reputa. Doing registration ko MPP le winter or UMC. I shouldn't have included UMC in this a lot, to be honest, but I just put their name out there because I thought they're also another criminal organization, in my opinion. So I said that we should go na IC jani. Bari jawara tati yeso kono defe maybe karte sunya e ba ke kanjela ko mal jawara tati yesi no je nya dila malam fo fe election ba prespeka jambe na ta fale 22 years ka mol ko kan mal ko na ne mate election na be ke kan what time ko na. So now the one that I witness heavily every day, let me turn on my light, give me a second.
Okay. Thank you all for being here. Please subscribe to YouTube while you all are here. That way you support the work that we're doing, or at least we're trying to do. Hopefully, we're living to your expectations as well. But yes, my guest is Binta Dibba here with me. Marvin, they're not in the middle of this important response that you're giving. You're getting
Sorry, my
sorry.
bad. My
No, you
bad.
good.
Anyway, so I feel like again, I feel like their facility currently is useless. So I made a statement I shouldn't have made. I made
Do
a
you regret
statement
it?
saying that
Do you regret it?
I regret saying it because people are taking it out of context, and if something like that did occur and something bad happened, I would definitely feel bad and responsible. So because of that, I regret saying it. So I said that na I see Jennifer Onimpereta na Alkrano Karanje, maybe Gino Lebije, or so na Alkrano Karan, we build it fresh back up, and modernize it, make it lit. Then kona ta sirinja yafala. I shouldn't have said that, But I made I I made it very clear, do not harm them. I'm just saying the building should go down. But again, that is political violence and I shouldn't have said it. So I definitely take it back. I know that a lot of
Do
people were
you
saying that
do
a
you
lot of
wanna
people
do you wanna? I think it could be an opportunity to speak directly to Gambians and
that's what
apologize.
I'm saying. That's what I'm
Yes.
saying. I definitely take it back in terms of namala mo jamal ba fakan ha ako na Gambia be mala. I love Gambia. Okay. I would never ever tanya tala flakaje Gambia o malakang. Um anim falang na statement on ba tala back because ni moltata yo general sifa ke mo fata je I have to take responsible for that. I don't man nyana tala fla gamen clear fa because of the diama menfo. So because of that I apologize to Gamen people. Um I see la cool and dimidrong, no
I
statement
feel
opo.
you.
Um
Okay.
but
Okay.
I don't mean it 100%.
Um,
Because malaf mole
and
barama offensive.
you're not even a violent person. You're probably a knucklehead, but you're not a violent person. And I don't think you condone violence in any shape, way, or form. But I think it's actually profound for all of us to honor things that we say and sometimes even things that we do. Because sometimes, like you said, a lot of things are said out of context or sometimes out of sheer frustration. But some people don't see that. Binta can say this today, and somebody in Gambia would literally go and act on that, and that becomes, oh, they actually been advised or been they're being pushed or they've been encouraged, they've been enticed by Binta, who is a TikToker. Because as we know for a fact, it's not everybody that's in a normal mental state, And when it comes to politics, a lot of things are not beyond us. People do a lot of things in the name of politics. So I really appreciate you taking that back, because I think more Jamala for more like, people wanted to understand what's the context why you said that. So it's meaningful that you own up to that.
Yes, but the Gambian people falang. Ni hani bi ni ay si nyamate ye aram bora faje. Ndefe na rachel na kamfa mbe lo banta na wurin kawato that is not illegal. Na fa ko mol bangulenke
But how about if you
palingoy.
won? How about if you win
Aka
fair and
karte
square?
winna no mum fair and square registration ko na fair fair and square ke je sante ay sign ka MPP fa disqualify le. There's no
Why would
fair
you
and
say
square.
that? But what is that grounded on? You have to realize. Listen,
Fraud,
no, listen,
fraud.
listen. Okay, cool. Like, let's talk about it. Let's interrogate that allegation one by one. Now, let's give credit. Well, who are you texting? Focus here.
I'm finding evidence for you since you like evidence. Because it
Listen,
doesn't it haven't
I have a,
evidence. I do
uh,
evidence all thing. Look at here's the evidence.
I'm not.
Okay? Evidence all thing. Arambro na la government no in din numero wali beta kay be register ka mate behavior sidin jay memmen diata bol ke kang na president jibe jena nak. Yes. So sign that is the
I do not
evidence.
disagree. I did not disagree. You're missing the point. I did not disagree what you're saying. I know there are voter registration problems, and kudos to UDP and Sobea and Unite. All of these political outfits working together to make sure to bring this to that. But particularly United Democratic Party (UDP), ya dogo minke mobe ya jele. But IEC also have accepted that there are problems. In fact, in the UDP seat, they had an engagement, and Mimbe Kering signed, they're following Lua Millandi, and they are going to go into revising court. So I don't think it is fair at this point to just sit down and say that even when IEC is following Lua Millandi, they're literally following the law. We are not having elections yet, but you want to say already that let me finish. Even without IEC finishing their work, that their credibility is out of the equation. You don't think that's an overstretch, Binta? How about we give them until election wato to see whether they are going to regulate these people who are not qualified to get registered? They are all out of the way, and that has to be determined by a court.
Okay, after registration, another scandal came out of them erasing a lot of numbers that UDP had to catch, and then now like they're always doing a lot of mistakes. UDP is catching it, pointing it out. Then they want to fix the issue during registrations. Even on their website, they couldn't even fix a simple information whereby they had two different. They changed the registration date, but still kept the old information in there. They can't run their website well. Um, they always we're catching them doing a lot of favors for MPP, right? Um, and they
What was that? Where are you getting that from?
during registrations we saw sitting there going to standing over there with children feeling like he's this big man and he can do whatever he wants. Some people are getting arrested that are allegedly illegally trying to register. When they get arrested, who's taking them out easily and sitting there, right? um so and also with some of the people individuals that they showed that they registered, I do have some pictures on my phone. These looks like grown women that can birth me, allegedly are born in 2001, 2006. So obviously I see it's either they don't know how to do their job, they don't have the resources. I think they don't have some resources. I truly believe that. But they work for the government, and they've always proved that
Listen,
when it comes to.
the chairman of the IEC has been appointed by the president, and I think also another layer is he gets confirmed by the House or they inform the House, whatever it is. But yes, you're right. You're not right to the extent of saying that the IEC works for the government. I don't believe in that. I don't buy into that. Do IEC have problems? Absolutely. Is there a lot of things they could do better? Totally, because it speaks to the integrity of our elections. Now, my question to you is this: you already believe IEC is going to be unfair to UDP in this election or to all opposition parties in the country. And going into December, if for whatever reason Adam Barrow ends up winning, you are willing to say that the election was not free and fair, even without seeing the entire process
Barack
through.
cannot win elections because I believe that UDP have more numbers but than Barrow. I believe he have more support than Barrow. I believe he's
Where
definitely
did you?
taking
But where did you ground that on? You don't live in
from
Gambia. You live in America. You speak to people on the phone. You are not on the. You and I, we both live in America. You live in Arizona. I live in Washington. So we speak
we
with.
see we see a lot of videos of governments on the ground speaking against
But
Barrow.
if it is about the videos, there is a lot of videos we all see in the Gambia.
I was
Videos
gonna
don't
get
make
into
much.
that.
Yes, they don't mean much.
No, I'm saying this. I know he do have a fan base. He do have a fan base, and Adam Barrow himself comes out and talk about how he's about to be unfair during election in regards to I'm buying we're getting this much asabi funding, the alcalos are gonna get the most asabis, um
I mean,
the
everybody does it in
ministers.
Gambia anyway.
No,
UDP
but
does it, APRC does it, Sobea does it,
if
Unite
I
does it.
ever hear
Everybody
Usain
does it.
Dabo talking about he's about to give alcalos this and that, that's the day I will stop messing with Usain Dabo, or any UDP politician. um Anyways, I see again Barrow cannot win elections. I don't think he can win election at all. With him, even Mama Kande joining him right now, learning that Mama Kande did have a lot of APIC numbers. So I think that 100 and something thousand votes he had last elections, I think that it's APIC no to alliance. Obviously, they could have those big numbers. Um, so even Mama Kende joining him right now, to me, I'm actually kind of happy about that a little bit. I think it works in UDP's favor. Him joining MPP currently, then going and joining UMC or Sobea UMC, with that could be big competition for UDP. So I think that still guarantee UDP can take, especially with the coalitions that they have right now. And I believe there's more coalitions. I mean, parties that they're going to be announcing very soon. So MPP cannot win the election, inshallah. They cannot win it. If they win it, we know that it's because they're stealing, guaranteed. They already showed it to us. Look at, okay, again, I see. I know me. I don't care. I don't care what you say.
Because
Okay,
it's very
look at
speculative.
this. Look at, okay. Look at this alone.
I
The
agree.
so-called
Yes,
IEC.
yes, I
The
agree to all
okay.
that.
So
I'm not disputing
if
any of
this
that.
company, if this
Mba
company,
Binta.
hold on.
Okay, I'm
There's
not
no
disputing
Binta.
any of. Okay,
If this
Binta, I'm not
company, let me,
disputing any of that.
okay, but then statement no bang. If this company called IEC are gonna come and tell me these grandmothers are 2001 born, 2006 born, you think me I would listen to IEC when it comes to result?
Yeah, so I agree. I think we are both on the same place when it comes to what you're saying. Is the premise of your argument is there are allegations of fraud, which you and I also highlighted, and we agree on this. UDP have done an incredible job to hold IEC to task to bring this to light for people to know, and that's a given.
But they still
But
fail in some areas. They
yeah,
can't conquer it all.
so and that but that's the thing. You have to bring those issues out, but I think it's very speculative and also very dangerous to get into a process. If you, for example, because also I have to remember you don't speak for UDP, you speak for yourself. I think it's a dangerous process to agree to participate in an electoral process when you don't even believe in the outcome of that process at all. You might as well pack your stuff and just tell your party, look, let's boycott the elections, because we've seen that previously in the Gambia, where because we didn't believe in the outcome of particular elections, we didn't think it was going to be free and fair, some political parties boycotted that elections. So what I'm saying is that if you subscribe to being involved in this as a political party, and you're doing your utmost due diligence to make sure that everything that is wrong with the process is being brought to light. If we go to December and December 5th, President Barrow wins the election, and because you have to realize too, there's a lot of Gambians that actually like the president. It's not everybody that is against the president. He is the president of the Gambia for a reason, through a process called a democratic voting process. Gambians voted for President Barrow. Whether he was cheated in the election, that is yet to be determined, because UDP's petition has not been, the Supreme Court refused to hear it based on technicalities. I wish they have, because that would have solved a lot of the problems that we have. But to make the assumption that the election is going to be unfree, not free and fair, because IEC has these problems that they are dealing with right now, I think is a little unfair, don't you think?
As long as Sirinjai is walking around in the Gambia freely during election day, there's some form of cheating happening. Duru man for Sanel and Bamalan for Munembang. Almame Jiba, wasn't he accusing of Duru of um pretty much paying voters late at night, catching him running from the scene. We're not going to witness fair election. And anyone who thinks we are going to witness 100% fair elections in Africa, you're extremely naive. It's not just a Gambian problem, it's the African problem. Okay?
Don't say it's an
And
African problem.
it is
It's
the
a
African
global.
problem.
It, I
Well,
think
yeah, global too,
you have
yes.
to stop this
No,
this
I agree with that. I'm not worried about the global side. I'm worried about Africa. So yes, I agree. It is a global issue, 100%. I agree with that. But obviously, I'm more focused on Africa, and I only mostly focus on Africa.
I want to ask you though, don't you think you could be so off in terms of your estimation of the popularity of the Gambian president, given that all the polls that have happened so far have positioned him to be better than all of the alternatives, all the alternative candidates who are available? Right? Have you read those surveys?
I
Have you
don't
seen
believe
those?
those the the two polls I observed. One I allegedly heard, um the one that allegedly tried to favor Talib.
That's not even
But
allegedly. It was a poll. Why would you say
well, we
allegedly?
allegedly, the owner of the company is allegedly Talib's friend. I don't know. So I, and anything that makes Talib look good. Anyways, listen. Um, I do know, I do believe that he do have a big fan base. I know that. I know he do have a fan base, because a lot of Africans, the way they still vote is very bad. We still have tribal votes, or Badinya vote, or he come from my side of town. He do more work on my side of town, so I'm gonna vote for him. He did
Or
something on my town.
maybe they just prefer
No, no, no.
him.
That's what I'm saying. I know, because I know the reasoning that they put in behind, in terms of this president didn't do nothing for me. This president came and did something for me,
Yeah,
or he.
exactly.
That's what I'm saying. So yes, I know that he do have a fan base. I know that, but I believe that UDP have more fan. He have a bigger fan base. I really do think that. Um, Last year when all of them went
Last election.
out,
Last election.
not even, not last election, last year, when they all went out and did, when MPP go out, allegedly, from the rumors and audios we hear, they spend a lot of money in terms of paying the riders and people to follow them, right? I know
That's
UDP
what they
also
say. That's what you hear.
yes, yes, alleged, that's why
So
I said allegedly, right?
there's a lot of I hear,
That's
right?
why I said allegedly, right?
Okay.
And I will not be surprised if you're a surprise. That's you. I can say maybe you're naive in when it comes to those things. Um, um, so
Why
I
would
know
you talk to me
UDP.
like that?
I know UDP. They also have members that go always follow them to different locations. But Usenu Dabo guarantee last year had the biggest crowd when it comes to after the flag bearership, when he went back to Gambia. You saw the crowd he pulled. I think he still have numbers. I think UMC Living definitely shake them up a little bit. Um, with Ibrahim Dibba being, I believe, the biggest influencer in that situation when it comes to hurting them more. Um, but I think that at the end of the day, still, that's why I always encourage a coalition. I knew that we have to gang up on Barrow. I know he have numbers. If we gang up on him, guarantee we're gonna outshine those numbers. That was what I always preached from the jump. If we do have fair elections, 100%, I really believe UDP will still beat NPP, guaranteed.
So the election will only be free and fair if the outcome is UDP winning.
It will only be free and fair if we don't have illegal votes, if we don't have underage voting. We don't have foreigners that have been living in Ghana, like that pretty much don't have the right paperwork. They did not get their paperwork the right way. So if we have those individuals voting, whether it's the underage voting, the illegal foreigners voting, as long as we have that, we're not gonna. It's not gonna be a fair election. Or did you
So
not hear about?
hang on, because I'm hearing a lot of these theories that you continue to put out, and what you're avoiding to answer is this: the election outcome that you desire is to have UDP win, and any elections that do not have UDP winning and the president winning is an unfair elections. That's what you're saying.
That's not, no. You're trying to make
No,
it
but it
seem
has to
like
be
that.
no. It has to be one or the other.
What I'm saying is, if we have fair elections, UDP would have won since Jambe's time.
Okay.
We don't have fair elections, and the same Gambians that will participate in voters fraud are the same ones that are in MPP currently, Sidin Jai and his team, right? So if we have fair elections, I believe UDP will win. If they don't win,
But if Barrow
if
wins,
Borough
then
wins, they cheated. I said
okay.
it.
But that doesn't make sense.
Well, that's your problem. Me, I'm saying they cheated.
Okay.
Kafute, that don't make sense.
Okay. Okay. Now let's move on. Let's move on to that. I think there's one more issue that we need to go, which is obviously you mentioned. You're the one who mentioned them. Unite Political Party. And I think there's been also an issue with not you criticizing the public candidacy and the mayor of KMC, Talib Ahmed Bensouda, but the criticisms and the controversies becomes when you talk about Talib's mom, Talib's brother, Talib's family, and you mostly ground that because you often would argue that because they are public officials, and I can talk about them. The mom work at the Janet Commission. The mom has all of these public institutions that she used to serve as a lawyer, and all these other things that you mostly talk about. And often people mostly ask, Binta, besides what seems to be conspiracies, where is your evidence? Besides, somebody told me, or I hear this, or somebody called me, or I hear this, like these things that seems to extend beyond the public persona of Talib Bensouda as a public official. Now, when you go into their family, when you go talk about the mom, when you go talk about the family members that they have, then for most people that is off-putting, and even people that support you and like what you do, I think that unsettles them a little bit. I want to ask you to address this. Why has Talib Bensouda and his family becomes such an important issue for you publicly?
Okay, when I started speaking about Talib's mom was when Talib spoke about his mom at the local government commission. When he opened his mouth and said the mother was the ex-representative of APRC, Yankuba Koli, I believe that's his last name, right? And before he said that, he was talking about how KMC was pretty much horrible in regards to the system. Everything was a mess. And he came and did this magical thing in KMC. And when he's saying that, he said his mother was their lawyer and their representative. And when he said it, he even put his eyes down as if you're embarrassed to say something that you want to, you're kind of embarrassed, right? So when Talib said that, for me, I believe, and most of the time when I speak about his mom, I always bring this line up, right? What I just said, I always say that. Um, and I always definitely said, after learning that, I started thinking because as a human, I believe I have a right to think and try to peep game. I don't know if you know what that means, right? So I'm like, Talib joined UDP 2017, I believe, or 2016, um, right? And before that, before the coalition government took over, the mom was working representing APRC, and we believe that this APRC government and especially Young Wakoli or
How is she representing APRC?
Talib said the mom was Yankuba Koli's lawyer. Yankuba Koli comes
No,
from
well,
APRC.
no, KMC. Kanifi Municipal
KMC,
Council is
yes.
different from APR. It's almost like when you said KMC is UDP still, because the person who leads KMC is Talib Ahmed Bensouda, who
Yes, you
came
can
from
say that.
UDP. Yeah.
Yes, I can say that, yes. So
Okay.
Yankuba Koli obviously comes from APRC and he was running KMC. And
Yes.
Talib Ventura's mom was defending them. So I started thinking, I was like, what if, this woman is working for this group and then, and they're leaving and then send her son to UDP. I don't know. This is something that I just was thinking in my head, right? But again, I started speaking about his mom because him himself at the local government commission mentioned his mother. Also, Talib also mentioned his brother, how one of his brothers had a contract at KMC, and he didn't know about the contract until after it was signed. When he found out, he that's when they went back and looked at the contract and canceled, I believe. So for me, I'm like, how come your own blood brother, he's getting a contract in your department and never had that conversation with you until after he succeed? So to me, that situation is kind of weird in terms of the brother's end. Why would you, if I don't have siblings, but if I had a brother, I was gonna get a contract in his department or an area he runs, I believe we would have that conversation. So to me, that is
I want
weird
to
and
ask you
fishy.
though. I do want to ask you if say for example, and let's put Talib aside because I think Talib, most of the criticisms that he gets, he can deal with it. But his mom and his brother are not mostly publicly to defend themselves, and they get all this barrage of attacks from you almost on daily basis.
How do I attack? I never disrespect Ali's
No,
mom though.
because well, y- okay, we're not even gonna get into that. But let me just say, let me reframe it. Excuse me if you feel that's unfair, but what I'm saying is, if Talib and his brother that you talk about so often, and they're not mostly like Talib who would come because he's a politician and will defend himself, even though Aziz now is also getting involved. But you can understand why people find that sort of problematic when you talk about them because say for example, if they've done anything wrong. Now, the idea of working with family members, the reason that is problematic is because it portrays this image of nepotism and also croism as well. Is, oh, there's a conflict of interest because your family member is involved. And most places in the world, what they do is they put an explicit law to make sure that that is not possible. In the Gambia, that's not the case. So on the looking at it is problematic, but it's not particularly illegal. And I'm curious to ask you, what law have they broken with them working with their brother, for example? Is there any law that they've broken? Is there any?
I never ever came out saying that they were breaking laws, but I can definitely speak on them based on my opinion whether government, if I think government should trust them or not, right? If anything, what do I say when it comes to Ami Benson? I don't trust her.
Oh, you said
I
she's
don't think.
corrupt. You did
Yeah,
mention that
yes,
she's corrupt.
yes.
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 So how do you
Working.
know? How do you know
If
she's
you're
corrupt?
representing, if representing KMC right there, that is the corrupt. If they did anything, you were their lawyer. You're gonna be their lawyer. You're gonna be the
But
one
that's not the,
defending them.
but that's not the lawyer.
You're
No, but
corrupt.
a lawyer, you have to realize a lawyer's job. I don't know if you know this very well, but a lawyer's job. I studied law, so that's have your area, but this is one area that I think I'm also pretty familiar with. And if we would just give each other some grace here to have a conversation for the essence of getting through a conversation. A lawyer's job is not only to defend, but a lawyer's job goes just beyond defending. If you're a lawyer of a public institution, there's a specific set of tasks that you are required to do, which includes helping writing legal documents, analyzing legal documents. It also includes representation if KMC is dragged to court, for example, or helping with assisting for legal representation and a host of other things, right? So that's a lawyer's job. A lawyer's job is not because KMC does some terrible stuff that becomes the lawyer's responsibility. In fact, most lawyers that work for public institutions, their job is not within the confines of KMC. They are mostly outside. They have their own law firms. They're mostly being held on retainer to sort of represent if there's any legal issue or when the public institution needs some legal help. That is how it works. So my question again is that how do you know that Ami Bensouda is corrupt? How do you know Aziz Bensouda is corrupt?
With her, again representing KMC that was being run by criminals, in my opinion. There's a lot of other things that I definitely hear about her. Allegedly, she's been taking funding, and I heard this paperwork on that they have not dropped yet, and allegedly it will be dropped.
From
Um,
where? From who? From where?
I can't give that information out yet, but I heard before election day it will come out. Um, so again, um, her representing APRC alone, I mean KMC that was being run by APRC members. So to me, you associating with them right away, I'm not gonna be a big fan of it. I see the behaviors that your son, from what I've learned, right? Your son, the behaviors your son would was doing in KMC, and you are not. I feel like you were not advising him well. I cannot support you. Also, like I said, for someone like me or you, right away us joining this whole Gambian politics conversations, we were able to access a lot of things that we might not be able to access if it's America, right? So yes, I do learn a lot of things about her, um, that other people that are close to the family, that there's things I learned. So I can obviously, I know she loved to sue people. So
How many people
I'm
did
not.
she sue?
I don't know, but I heard she likes to sue
No,
people.
but if
Um,
you Binta, in case if you speak this way all the time, and I told you this even before, I said I hope that you're able to substantiate a lot of the things and accusations and these claims that you make, because we are in the public sphere and we have a responsibility. No, let me finish. We have a duty and even a responsibility to back up a lot of what we say, especially when we speak about other people, including those who are public officials and those who are not. Now we can talk about Ami Bensouda and her record as the lawyer for KMC. We can also revisit as his record as it relates to his public service. And Talib, again, that's a granted. We can talk about him whole day, but we have a responsibility. If you're accusing people of certain things, to tell the public, because if you don't do that, what you do is you're putting. Let me finish. You're putting their character in disrepute, and then when they go ahead to say, "Let me finish," when they go ahead to say that you're accusing me, and I'm going to make sure that we litigate this before the court, and then that becomes a problem. But you don't realize that if you talk about these things, it is important to put them in context, to bring evidence, to bring facts, to tell people, not just because somebody who is a political rival, which most of the time we all get, somebody who's a political rival says this, or another person who is an anti this person says that. Where is the evidence? Where are the facts?
like I said, um, I have a right to not like somebody because he's, I mean, her son, he's trying to take power in the country. He's trying to be the most powerful person in the country, which will give access to Ami Bensouda. And also, like I said, her own son came out on national TV, sat down and spoke about her on the national on local government commission, right?
Let
um
me. What one thing you also don't know, which I feel like is important for me to tell you, well, I think you know, is that Ami Bensouda has a legal career that spans nearly over 40 years. And this is an individual who has, let me say this, and a lot of people have corroborated this. He has spent a lot of money on the United Democratic Party as a political party. She has
I
literally.
know all of
No, let
that.
me say. So when you say access, when you say this is somebody who needs access and opportunities, I would say, for example, because she lectured me at the law school, that this is somebody who has been there and done it. There is not a much more successful lawyer in the Gambia and a richer lawyer that I know, materially successful than Ami Bensouda. And most lawyers that you know that are top there in the Gambia will tell you exactly the same. So if you say if it is access, if it is about
Did she
money,
have that success in terms of the amount of funding she have right now? Did she have that before Jambe or after Jambe's era, in your opinion, since she lectured you before?
I mean, she has been working as a lawyer even prior to Jamie coming to office. So I don't know
I
what you're
know that.
talking
I'm
about.
saying in terms
Yes.
of the wealth, allegedly the wealth, like how the wealth, even with FA, the oil company, I heard, um, there's definitely some special dealings allegedly that she had from that deal. But again, to go back to your question, because I want to move on from this, because I know you're very passionate about this topic.
No, I'm not. I just
Yes,
don't.
you are. You are very
I'm not.
passionate about. Listen,
Listen,
I mean, listen. I mean, Ben Suda.
listen. If you have a problem with my questions, Binta, tell me what you have a problem with. But my
I'm not. I don't
job.
have. I want to answer it and move on from it. Right.
But we cannot move on
Um.
unless we resolve it. We have, otherwise you leave them hanging
Well,
because you've not.
we're gonna resolve it this way. Okay. She have government contracts. She have government contracts. Like you said, she's been working with the government for a very long time. Um. And again, her own son spoke about her in what I felt like was a little bit negative in a way, at the local government commission when he was there. Um, so and then a lot of the rumors and things that I hear, I have a right to not like her or like her,
I
and
agree.
whether to want her to have access to higher power with her son. I have that right, and I believe that Talib Bensouda, even with a fencing that he did at KMC, I believe that I heard that he gave a contract to auntie, and then which someone which actually started some chaos at KMC, and somebody actually left the job because of that, right? So me hearing, and then all of this, me doing these research or talking to people, or trying to find information, all of this happened after when Talib actually came out and did a speech that I thought was very weird, and I thought it was like a hypocrite behavior, and I started going and actually doing research and stuff like that. So again, I have a right to feel like this family is not the family that we should give power to currently. Um, I believe that. I think I rather, I even always say this. I rather Ami Bensouda herself comes and tell us who she is, educate us about her herself, and let
What? But
her
why?
run
But and
than
this
her
even
son.
seems like, because I know, like, this is going to come across as though you're holding brief for them. But why do you think in the wall that Ami Bensouda, who is not by any means a public official, is not running for any public office whatsoever, should come out to defend herself against some of the accusations that are put against her?
That's not what I said though. I think she would make a better president than her own son. Maybe, I don't know, or maybe not. Okay. Um.
Let me ask you another question. And this is specifically about Tali, because we've talked about the mom and Aziz, and I think your personal attacks on them, in my estimation, are not grounded on any factual basis. It seems to me it's just a lot of talking to people in the Gambia who are mostly people who cannot substantiate or telling you this information. Because if I'm you, if people tell me these things, I'm telling, if anybody comes to me and tells me today that certain thing about a certain politician in the Gambia, the first thing out is provide evidence. If I have it, I'll make sure the public.
If I go to court, they ask me why did I call Talib Mom a criminal. I can say that because she represented criminals before. That's an easy pack up, and we move on. So
And
what
even
else?
that, it shows your sheer lack of appreciation and understanding of lawyer's job. You want to tell me, if a lawyer defends a criminal, it's not his moral responsibility to go and police that person. A lawyer's job, when you defend an individual, is to go and give your best to defend that person,
Well,
even when
some
that person
lawyers
is guilty.
maybe okay. Good. Anyways,
even
fine, right?
even when that person is
But
guilty, that's one of
uh,
the first things that you will learn. If you go to law school, they'll literally teach you that it's not your job to decide the guilt or innocence of a client. Your job is to represent them, and if you represent them, you use the laws that are established. It's not a lawyer who gets to
okay,
decide.
and again, as a civilian, I have a right to judge somebody based on the type of cases they take, based on how they do contracts. In regards to Talib's brother work gaining a contract at his department, and he didn't even find out until when it's late. I can judge you on all of these
Agreed.
situations.
Agreed.
Okay, and then let's
Agreed.
move on because that's what it
Agreed.
is.
Agreed. I agree.
Yes,
I agree
thank
to
you.
all of that. Okay, good. Final question on that is that, again, I mentioned to you, and the reason a lot of people like to understand is that it seems, and I think rightfully so, that when people seem to be on your side, say for example, the party that you support, UDP, they're good. If they are not on your side, then they become these wildly bad
That's not
people.
true.
I'm putting the case to you. No, I'm putting the case to you. You can respond. When did you realize that Talib is such this bad and corrupt figure? When has that dawned on you? When did it
I
happen?
wouldn't say such bad and this corrupt person. It started with um Rahim Malik Law came out and accused Talib's team of being bullies, right? Of bullying her, or
No,
supporters of Talib
so
bullying
Rohi,
her,
Rohi is
right?
your Rohi is
No,
your
no, no. Let me
credible witness
finish.
now.
How it's no. Let me. No, that's not what I said.
No,
I'm
I'm gonna
telling you
let you
how
continue. I'm gonna let you
how it
continue.
how it started for me, right?
I'm gonna let you
It's
continue. But Rohi herself also appeared before. We just gotta be here.
and
We
I and
deal
I
with
and I
facts.
and she. I think she
Yes,
even unfollowed me for that reason. The way
yes,
I criticized
exactly.
her about
So,
that.
but you don't talk about Rohi Malik Law at all.
I do
Barely.
talk about it,
No,
Rahima.
you
I
no.
do talk about.
You can
You only
stop.
care about UMC. That's why you
No,
worry about Talib. Yeah, you care
listen.
about
That's
Talib too much.
okay.
You guys, I'm just letting y'all know Talib la nigga. He only worry about Talib. That's why
It's okay. It's
no,
not
no.
a problem. It's okay. My concerns are clear. I know what I know, but I have to put the issues
Okay,
before
let
you.
me tell you this though.
If your defense is that I am with Talib, that's okay. You can run with that story if
I
you want,
always
and I know
speak about
people will
Rahim
support
Malik.
you.
I tell
No,
UDP that they have to
let,
take the hit for Rahim Malik Law. I tell them that she made herself look really
No,
bad
how
at
about
local government
you?
commission.
You, how about you also the same way that you go after Talib and his family? Because we've all worked the local government commission, and we know there were several stuff that are
I
so
actually talk about Rahim Malik
and
Law's
that's what.
brother who had a contract
But
and shouldn't
but
have. I have talked
that
about
is
that.
and we're not excusing anybody. Let's hold Talib Bensouda accountable. If Talib Bensouda has certain things that he talked about in the local government commission, and we're going to see the government white paper to tell us what position that they've taken when it comes to Talib. I hope that whatever he's responsible for, he is held accountable for it, 110%. But I also hope that this apparent double standard that we see, that when individuals like Rohim Malik Low, who is a mayor of Banjul, several issues that were wrong in her administration and during her tenure, that we so much so soon have forgotten about that, and all our preoccupation becomes the Bensudas and their family.
Okay,
You see where
I
I'm
don't
getting with
think
this?
I don't think you actually sit on my life to hear what I be talking about most of the time. Rahim Malik Law unfollowed me on TikTok because I believe she heard me speaking about her. And I made it very clear that when UDP come in government, I will actually be very disappointed if I see Rahim Malik Law in any form of ministerial position. I don't want to see her. Like, shout out to her. I know that she's been doing
So
some
you
good
agree
work
she's
when it
bad.
comes.
So you agree she's bad too.
Yes, I
Good.
mentioned that.
Yep, we're
Like,
making progress. Yes.
no, no, no. I talk about that. Even with
Good.
her brother having a contract also, and she does it like she let her like that's conflict of interest right there. I have said that. I always said how she anything Talib did at KMC, UDP have to take blame for that. Her behavior at Benjul also, UDP have to take blame for that, and a lot of the
Good.
MPs also they have to take blame for that. I always say that. I am
Listen, that's
extremely
why I like
extremely
you.
fair.
I like that. I like that. We're
Um,
making progress.
but the difference between Rohit and Talib is trying to capture power currently to be the
Good point.
president of the Gambia by force. That's the big difference. And when I started feeling some type of way about Talib was again when Rahim Aglo came out because I used to sit with a platform that are actually big team Talib and they actually influence his party from what I've observed. Okay, so when Nana Keita or whatever came out and made those statements, Yusuf Hydra came out and made those statements. Again, before those statements were made, Rahim Malaklo was the first one that came out and felt like Talib's members of Talib's team or his supporters from UDP were attacking her, bullying her, right? A women's advocate group that loved Talib, this is a women's advocate group. They ignored the woman and tried to ignore the complaints she's making in defending Talib. Eunice, Yankuba Dabo did his response with Nana Haidara and thing. The
Nana
same group
Maketa
that
and Yunus
Nana
Hydra.
Maketa and Yusuf, yes, and I
Yunus,
learned that
Yunus, Yunus.
I learned that Eunice is related to Talib cousins. Nana McKenta, allegedly they're very close also, or they communicate. So now the same group
There's nothing
again.
wrong with that.
There's nothing like I said. This time I didn't feel some type of way about him yet. Before this, I didn't know him very well, right? I didn't know him very well. If anything, around this time, the only thing I observed was like, how come this guy always come up with excuses why he's failing? But I used to give him the benefit of the doubt. Well, I know Barrow and his government are always trying to fight them, so I always did give him that benefit of the doubt. So again, this group again they want to fry Yankuba Dabo and ignore the claims that were being made about Talib. So Talib came out and did a speech. um, do you remember that speech of his?
Yes, yes.
And he did that speech because Juka contacted Nene Federer to tell Talib to come out and speak. I know this because I was involved with that group that time, right? And then they told me this happened. So
Who told you?
Talib came, Juka told me, Juka or Mama Lisa, one of them told me that it was Juka who called Nene Federer to tell Talib to come out.
Nene Freda, do you mean Nene Freda
Freda
Gomez?
Gomez.
Yes.
Yes, Nene. For her to contact, because that's the fastest way they can get Talib is through her. For Talib to come out and to make us to speak about the situation. So when Talib came out and speak, that speech of his was when I got mad at him because I felt like your fan base were being accused of being bullies with Rahim Malik Law first, and I myself personally witnessed your fan base, one of them being your cousin, one somebody else who wants you to be president so bad, right? They're making statements that I think is not fair to Yankuba Dabo and to the Mandinka community itself.
Who?
So
Who?
you Nanama
Who's
Nanama Nanama Keita saying pretty much saying that if UDP, if they're selecting a flag bearer, they should avoid selecting a Mandinka, right? Because then that would promote the UDP Mandinka claims, right?
you
And
know
then we know,
Nanama? You know Nanama is Mandinka, right? And people will say
but
that's not
he,
important. But
but
you know
it's
Nanama,
still, it doesn't. Yes, some Mandinkas are snakes. Yes, okay, but it doesn't matter what tribe you come from.
that's
That's no
crazy.
one should
There are
say. No
snakes in
one.
every tribe. That's not
Yeah,
just
that's what I'm
unique.
saying. So what
Oh,
I'm saying is
the
no one
point.
should say that. There's no need for you to even bring that point because no one should just say that. Whether it was a Maninka that said it or a Wolof or it doesn't matter. No one should
But what
just
did Nanama
make.
say? Okay, let's interrogate because I've read. I know what Nanama said. Let me see whether you know or you're miscontextualizing
You
what
can
Nanama.
go
What did
and
Nanama?
you can pull it up and read it. We all
No, no,
read that a
you're the
lot of
one
times.
explaining. No, because
I just
again,
I,
I'm
I just
following.
told you what he said.
Okay, what did
In
Nanama say?
what I summarized from it is that when they are selecting again, they should avoid selecting a Mandinka person as a flag bearer because it can still promote the idea that UDP is a Mandinka party. So obviously, I believe that they made that statement because of who was the next rising superstar in UDP outside of Talib was Yankuba Dabo. So I think that that was a jab at Yankuba Dabo, and Yankuba came out and he probably thought it was, I don't know, and he responded, right? So he responded. Talib came again. My issue with him, because number one, I knew that they called you to come and do this speech. You came and you try to play the nice guy. Not even that. Come and adjust your fan base because they're the ones they claiming are the problem, right? You came and did this general speech that works for everyone, but other people are being fried because of other people are suffering because of what your fan base is doing. So I think what you he should have added, if he did that, I would have never said anything to him. Come address your fan base. Tell them to stop being bullies because they're being accused. A woman is accusing of being bully. I've seen some of them, some of the statements they made. Address them. If you address them, I think a lot of other people wouldn't have an issue with you when it comes to that situation. So when I saw that, I got irritated. Again, the people that had control to be able to contact and make him come and to speak, they opened a platform to try to attack in Yanko Badabo in regards to his response. One second, let me. Um, sorry, I had it.
That's good.
Okay, so in regards to his response, um, so and I thought they were being unfair because for the first time in that platform, I got dropped because all I said was, "Listen, Talib's team base, they're accusing them of bully behaviors, and I think you guys should address that."
Yeah.
And I got dropped for the first time on that live. They didn't want me to say that. Um, then Yankoba Daba did that interview with Member Caring. And then they wanted to just attack without even watching the whole interview. So that's when I went and actually listened to the whole interview. Before I even did that, I went and started calling people in that I knew were in UDP, had access to UDP, and started asking them questions about like what's actually going on when it comes to this whole so-called bullying, this whole. So that's when I started actually gaining a lot of information from people that actually were there and witnessed things, right? Remember, my other friends, they were getting information from Nene and Talib's side. So I went and also got information from the other side that are complaining. So I came out and spoke about what I think is going on and what I've observed and why I'm also irritated at Talib for not addressing his fan base that they claim calling bullies and harassing people or insulting people that they're from the same team with. Um, so anyway, so
Do
that
you
was the
are
first
you?
time I.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you short. But are you also bothered by, and which is, I think anybody bullying should not be permitted. And I hope if bullying is what they do, and I know some of them do from Talib's camp. I hope that they don't do that and he's able to address it. But I do want to ask you, are you also bothered by the bullies from the other side too? Because bullying is a normal thing in Gambian politics. Like you go through it, I go through it. It's not unique to one political party. And so I'm curious to also ask you, and I know the question earlier was, when did it start for you in terms of falling apart with any favorability for Talib? But are you also bothered by the bully from the other side, from other political parties? Milfanang, everybody just bully everybody in Gambia. If you don't speak about what they like or do what they like, you're bullied into silence. Do you also experience that?
Um, Outside of, I know that the UDP, I know that with Talib versus the other side, yes, they do fight, but
Mhm.
in those two camps fighting, from my opinion, I believe Talib people started it. UDP as a whole, yes, there are some members that are extremely ignorant, like others in you will find in other parties. In regards to, maybe somebody like something that I've actually attacked UDP members, attack Mandinkas about on TikTok live was me going to a platform. It was not a UDP platform. It was a Mandinka Fasa platform, and I heard someone make a statement like, if somebody don't know how to speak Mandinka, then they shouldn't be able to be leadership. So I did a live attacking those people in regards to that mindset. That is a horrible mindset. English is the first language in that country. So if anybody,
It
like, there's
shouldn't
no
matter. Yeah,
requirement,
that shouldn't
yeah,
matter.
like
Yeah,
if
man, a
even if
tribe or
someone can
ethnicity shouldn't
yeah,
matter.
so yeah, so I definitely speak against that. I don't even allow it to be promoted on my platform. um, Even the whole thing of Talib is Gambian or not, I don't even allow that conversation either on my platform. If you're born in Gambia, I believe you are Gambian. Even the Ghanaians that don't have paperwork in Gambia, I'm not in support of that. I'm against that. I think they should have their. If you're born somewhere, I think that's your right. Allah said you're supposed to be born here. You're supposed to be born there, and you should be one of us. Um, so yeah, there's
I
certain
like
things
that.
that other people do that I don't support, and I definitely always speak against.
Yeah. And I think honestly that's how it should be. I identify with that a lot, and I can understand sometimes, because you and I live in this country again, and identity politics is a lot. And I think as of yesterday, I was talking to somebody, and I was telling that person, look, we had a barbecue here at the park, and I was telling the person that, look, identity politics is a thing here in the United States. People vote based on different identical reasons, right? People vote for Republican parties because Republican Party represents who they are and their values, and they see themselves and identify themselves with Republican Party. Same is true for Democratic Party. That is reason why most people of color identify with the Democratic Party. And so in our context too, if I'm Mandinka and I see an individual like Honorable Alaji Usainu Dabo, naturally there is a natural tendency for me to sort of align myself with Usainu Dabo because he's Mandinka. But I think the most important thing is that because Usainu Dabo is Mandinka alone should not be enough reason for me to vote for Usainu Dabo. It should be Usainu
Yes.
Dabo is Mandinka, Usainu Dabo is competent, Usainu Dabo is experienced enough, Usainu Dabo is humble
Not
enough.
even Mandinka. I think that his Mandinka is not relevant. Like,
I
what
mean, the
tribe
Mandinka
somebody?
is it's a
To me,
peripheral
that's not
issue.
relevant.
Yes, exactly. It's an irrelevant issue, but it is relevant. But it should not be the sole determinant for people to vote for people that represent them in public office. I think it should be a collective. In fact, some would argue that tribes should never play a part. But we're human beings. All of us are born, and then after we're born, we find ourselves in a community. And because that community is who we are, we have a last name, even though that last name is very fluid. It's not static. Today you see somebody before who was Sanko, was Jola, today is Mandinka. So these things are determinants in terms of how people behave politically, right? So I really identify with that, you saying that, because people only sometimes just see you talk about one side, they're like, oh, this person is just UDP. She doesn't care if UDP is the one doing it. If UMC is doing it, is wrong. Everybody should talk about it. If NPP is doing it wrong, everybody should talk about it. But if, say, Unite is also doing it or UDP is doing it, we should also be able to talk about that.
No, I always criticize UDP a lot, to be honest. I think that their party, there's a lot to be done in that party. And I wish I can actually even see a united Sobea, because I think that they will be able to help each other a lot. What Sobea lacks, UDP can fill. What Sobea, I mean UDP lacks, Sobea can fill. Um, but I think definitely liking someone, or voting for somebody based on what tribe they come from, I think that is that can definitely be Africa's biggest downfall. I definitely don't think what tribe somebody comes from is relevant at all, especially in our Gambian community, whereby most of our tribes we share the same religion, our same way of life. Um, so I think that voting based on tribe is something we should all really 100% let go. Everything, how
Yeah,
competent someone is, their moral values, and all that should be what we consider guarantee education level. But that
yeah,
tribe part, that gotta go.
yeah. I mean, and I wish that's the case, but it's not realistic because we're human beings. We have tribes, we have religions. All these things are factors that matter. And so, again, to my earlier point, I don't think tribe alone should be enough, or faith or religion alone should be enough. I think it should be a holistic reason or an issue base. If you're identifying with any candidate to vote for them, I think that is what is going to help us. But it's sad that we have this issue in the country, in the Gambia, where people identify with politicians because of, solely because of their ethnicity or where they come from, and it is a problem. So, I'm with you on that 100%. But my last question to you, Binta, if before I let you go, is is that given that now we have, Unite Talib is the flag bearer for Coalition 2026. We've also seen today Apex Coalition with UDP involved, SFR, Lamin Dabo, and I think another two individuals who are also involved. I'm not gonna lie, that looks good. That looks solid. That Apex Coalition that I saw today, and it will be interesting to see how that turns out. And I think UDP is also signing. I think some Friday. I think it's Friday. I'm not too sure, but that's also happening. What do you expect is gonna happen? I'm mixing Mandinka and English, but what do you think is gonna happen? You know, given that you have Talib on one side, and it looks like we may have Apex on the other side. But I hope that whatever Apex is, that's going to be a UDP side, such that we don't have like a third coalition away from Barrow. So Talib say UDP and Apex, and then we have Barrow. But do you envision something else happening, or your goal, as always, is that you want to see
I am
everybody together?
I never wanted Talib in any group that I was supporting heavily. So I am glad that it went the way it did for Talib with
Hmm.
with Sobea getting out, and it proved the point. Because even after Sobea left right now, there's a lot of rumors of he said this is how it went. Talib first coming out to snitch, like the first time he came out to snitch with Usain Dabo. So I think it proved a lot of the rumors that we were talking about that allegedly UMC Talib was participating in when it comes to the sneaky behaviors, behind the scenes sneaky stuff. And right now also that's the same so-called rumors that are going on between UMC and Sobea when it comes to the allegedly him being sneaky and sneaky behaviors happening behind the scenes. I was scared about Talib and Isafal being one, and especially if they had Mama Kande. I was scared about that three brass of UDP. So right now, all I'm hoping and praying for is for Isafal to back UDP.
Hussein. Hmm.
Yes, and I'm very confused with what's going on with PDIS right now. I believe they are part of Talib's team. I don't know. So that part
No,
I'm really just
no, they're
confused.
not. I think
Um,
they're also leading their
okay,
own
thank you.
coalition efforts. Yeah. So there's nothing
Okay,
coming
thank
of it
God
right
about
now.
that one. So they since they're not on the Talib, thank God about that one also. Um, I just now will hope and pray that Isa and PDIS backs UDP, but I think it's also UDP's responsibility, Hussein Daba's responsibility, to make sure that that deal is done no matter whatever it takes. Like just get the deal done, get it done, get it done. You need them more than they need you. So I think the pressure is actually more on UDP to make sure make that happen. A lot of UDPs need to stop this mindset that we don't need them. Yes, you need them. We know you can win elections on your own, but just secure the win, because obviously that's what you guys been struggling with in every election is securing that win. So secure that win. If that means that you have to do a deal, you have to give VP to Halifa or Isa or someone, like make that deal happen for us. Um, so yeah, again, I believe that Talib is gonna fail miserably. It seems like he's becoming confident, which even MPP have a lot of confidence, which I kind of like. Um, hold on one second. Um, So I like that confident. I think maybe UDP they had that kind of confidence last election too, thinking that oh we finna take it and forget that oh there's no fair elections. So let them be confident and let UDP and every other government have the victory. December inshallah.
Finally, if there's any message that you want Gambians to know or you want to share with Gambians, given that, we spend a lot of hours online, we say a lot of stuff that sometimes go overboard or it upsets people. I know that's not our intention. I mean, and we take accountability when we do, but sometimes also messages of positivity and love, and I try to do that is to, hey, okay, you upset at me, I apologize. It's not because I want to upset you, it's because I'm just curious and I like to have these conversations. I genuinely just want to understand where people are coming from. And so, on that note, I wanted to ask you if you would like to close on a very positive note, or I hope it's not a negative note, but would you like to share anything at all with Gambians? What do you think they misunderstand about you specifically, or something they should know about you, or something nice you want to share about yourself? Really, whatever you feel confident or comfortable to share, by all means. And then we can wrap up this chat today.
I just want to tell Ghanaian people that Albenyadi, I love my country. Um, Gambia is all I have. Um, and I believe we have a very beautiful country, beautiful land, beautiful people. So Nyata lafla fitno e talna sate kono. One thing that I'm always very proud of is how we never had a civil war. We never had like, some of these history that other Africans have. Um, so na statements all the manual make before, I 100% take them back because malafi gamen yellow e bong. Um, but in lafta aramboro e bondi je by force correction or like corruption or and sorry, one second. So lafta way bondi je. So I'm always gonna be speaking. Album munyan lanyel drang until after December, especially the family member soul. Um, I feel like I don't have a choice now. Like Baro has to go, he has to go. Inshallah. So albanda mela na boja boja fo baro e bandije na mala flanda mela al baro bandije drong al tanda mela kotent. So ala baraka.
Can you make one last final commitment that Iba trial you're going to do your best to not insult, to not use profanity, to be respectful going forward? Not for you. You're not a people pleaser. Somebody mentioned that in the comments. We don't expect you to be. I think people love your authenticity. People appreciate you for your honesty. And that's why a lot of people come to you to have conversation. But do you commit to doing better in terms of communicating, in terms of being more respectful, given bearing in mind our culture, our traditions, and our norms, in terms of how we engage publicly? Do you want to commit to that publicly?
Nda nendro fulana diamol kono anymore because of na platform mo mba expand kane for it to be very professional. So because of war, nendro ning unnecessary diamol mba bandi na program mo kono isaje na platform all we can run it very professionally. We actually have a media team now in Gambia of journalists and videographers that are going to be on the streets now collecting content for us. So yes, for the sake of the family, for the sake of my own mental health, unnecessary diamol nim param param mandabon la jim fankala ko Gambia la Beyonce. So ni mo yen to ni sa menyala kasa na to ala nin kila tema.
Malam fa be dana lokun killing album for tele killing for lokun sabo for carry killing bam. But I'll always be here. Kafanya, if once happening, I'll always be here being a snitch on the sidelines. You know who I am. But I can't believe I'm saying that publicly. My wife is gonna admonish me. But Binda, thank you so very much for being here. This is actually, I can say this publicly, one of my favorite conversations that I've had by far. Not because I'm saying that because I know you, but I genuinely love conversations and dialogue, because I know everybody has a story and I keep talking about this constantly because you don't have to agree with me, but you can respect me enough to give me an hour of your time for us to have a conversation where we don't fight, we listen to each other. We can disagree, but we can have it respectfully. So for me, that's the foundation on which this platform is built. And I'll continue to do that. So I just want to publicly say that I really appreciate you coming in. I appreciate you making yourself available for us to dialogue. And I also want to tell you to keep speaking about Gambia because we need more people like you. With that comes even a greater responsibility to speak respectfully, to speak responsibly, to also speak in a way that we don't put harm on anybody, or put our country in disrepute. But I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much.
Thank you. One last question to you. After when ISAFAL and UDP have this beautiful coalition, will you support them over UMC?
I think honestly, let me be completely transparent. I think I'm getting increasingly closer to being in a place where I can come out publicly and declare my endorsement for a side for the elections. But it has to come when the ideal situation that I want, I see that. If Dabo and SFL and PDOIS and Unite, if all of them come together and get a flag bearer,
Hey,
I
which unite? Which unite? Yalo letting UMC diamula kale ko betida.
no
Okay,
listen.
let's wrap it up. Wrap it
No,
up.
no, 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 Binta. I think that's a good question. I think all of us,
Don't
all
add
of us.
unite in our conversation.
Okay,
Stop
okay, no,
doing
you
that.
don't add United, but for me, if we want a united coalition, that is my ideal situation. If that happens, Binta, I can guarantee you here, you and I would use our platform every day and night to support that coalition because personally, as much as I like the president, I think two times is enough. I think it's enough that when you're able to run a country for 10 years, you move on, you move away from politics for somebody else to come. But I just don't see a wall where as they disunited as they are right now, for me to come and support any one of them. I just don't see that. At least I'm not at that place yet.
I just hope and pray to God and Allah Subhanahu wa Taala that you don't support UMC because it will be a
I don't.
bad look for you.
Okay, let me say this. If and people, I get a lot of flack for this. If I support Unite, Binta, trust me, I would be happy to come out to say that I support Unite and Taliban. So I just don't see what is wrong with that. And the fact that people would mostly just think that you are just this scared little person that you have a problem coming out to say, I used to support UDP. I used to defend UDP. It's not, I've never been a member, but I used to be like you, although not as big as you. But I was constantly on Twitter, which I used to spend a lot of time on, literally defending UDP. Kemo knows. Kemo is my friend. But it's because of my, yeah.
I that one too. Now he's involved in some scandal too.
You see, you're not gonna start another argument here. Cable,
Okay, I'm letting you listen.
no,
I'm just saying
I'm just
that
saying, if you
the
go,
1 million receipt, the 1 million receipt. You didn't hear about that one?
listen, you're the one that tells me this conspiracy has been done.
Ni meron ako man for the dialectic space. You didn't hear about ila friendso la
Well,
scandalol.
okay, you better send it to me. If you send it to me, I'll
Abuka
probably
ala
interview.
friendo la scandal abuke mo The audio is on my page. Go and find it. Anyways, I'm gonna let you go. Thank you for having me. Um,
You
be
should be my
nice to.
co-host. You should be my co-host.
How much you paying?
I can't afford you.
I'm joking.
I can't afford you.
Anyways, maybe if you bring maybe
No,
I'll
no. I feel like, and you're going to say I'm using your connections, but if you and I sit down weekly, once or twice, then we can have Usino Dabo and everybody from UD. Because right now they don't want to come on my platform because they just keep accusing me of being rude to
because
UDP.
you're bringing people that are talking negative about them. I'm
Is
just
it?
joking. Anyways, no, I'm. If you're gonna be nice to them,
No, I'll be
maybe.
nice to
But
them. Binta, I'm respectful. You know that. I don't treat anybody with contempt. You know that. That's not who I am.
anyways, thank you. I gotta go.
Thank you,
Um,
everybody. Allah baraka. The
Abraham, I
interview,
see you in the chat. In the comment section. After watch it.
the interview is on YouTube. All of you, make sure you share the interview. And subscribe as well. But also go to TikTok and follow Binta. She has a big platform out there, and hopefully she supports us, the smaller platforms too, because she keeps mentioning that you have a smaller. I say, girl, you're just on TikTok. Bye.
I never ever talk. Yeah, you see this guy. I don't know when I have problem. So what platform? I don't make fun of you about any platform. I'm a fan actually. I think I think you do good work.
Thank you.
Sometimes you have annoying guests. Sometimes maybe, but I think you do good work. To be
Thank you. You
honest.
too. No, you too. You honestly do too. I appreciate it. It's mutual. Have a good night, B.
All right, bye, my guy.